Thank you for watching or listening to the ASB Author Showcase, spotlighting authors from around the world. ASB Author Showcase is produced by Author School of Business, an author-owned organization helping authors to fully understand the business side of being an author. If you would like to be on the show or to be a sponsor of the show, simply email us at authorschool@outlook.com. Your hostess for today's show is Charlotte Canion.
Hi, I'm your host, Charlotte Canion, award-winning author, speaker, and coach. And today our guest is Patricia Taylor Wells. Now, Patricia is the author of the Kalidoscope series. Patricia, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Patricia, before we get to delving into your books, I'd love to hear a little bit about your background and where you grew up. I know that our audience likes to know where our people are from.
Well, I'm a little bit from all over the place. I grew up in a small East Texas town and then later on moved to Dallas and lived in Austin and finally in Houston. So I'm small town, big town kind of person. But then after I got married, my husband and I, it seems like we were moving every 4 to 6 years. And so we lived in Virginia and Atlanta, Georgia. And then we moved to Pennsylvania where we were, I think, 10 years there. And then back to Atlanta and then to Knoxville and finally back to Texas. So it's just been kind of a whirlwind in a way.
Roundabout, and he wasn't in the military, right?
No, well, he was in the military, but that was before we were married. No, it was just mergers and banks closing down, and you have to go where the jobs are. So
yes, that is true. Well, I'm an East Texas girl too. I went to Stephen F. Austin and from
I did
East
too.
Texas.
I went to Stephen F. Austin.
Oh, so we have that in common. Yep. We're both lumberjacks.
Right.
Well, tell us a little bit of when did you get the writing bug? When did you decide that you was going to be a writer?
Probably whenever I was, in elementary school. I mean, I always knew that writing was something that I was drawn to, but my parents weren't particularly enthused about it, especially the poetry. They didn't like that, so I would not show them what I was writing most of the time. And then for a while, I wrote quite a bit of poetry, but it wasn't really very good because I really didn't, know what I was doing. So anyway, then I quit for a very, very long time. And it was only in after 2016 that I really became, a writer. And that's whenever I wrote most of my poems that are in the 2 collections that I have. So, but now I'm kind of on a dry spell. So it's, but that just comes and goes. So I don't get too worried.
It's kind of like the tides of the ocean. They come and go.
Mm-hmm.
I hear that from many, many authors. Well, tell us a little bit about your very, well, you told us, that when you were younger, you wrote poems, but give us an idea of, you said as you got in 2016, did you just sit down and start writing your poetry, just one right after another? Or what was the first poem that generated?
Well, I guess the reason I started writing poetry is because I had an opportunity to write my first book and have it published. Are you familiar with Camp Tyler here in Tyler, Texas? Okay, well, it's the oldest outdoor education school in the country, and I happened to go out there. A friend worked out there and invited my husband and I to come have a tour of the camp. And I had gone there as a child. And so I wrote that book, and that opened doors for me. I didn't, not money-wise or anything like that, because I wrote it for the benefit of Camp Tyler. But, the people interviewed me. I was on TV. I was, this or that. And I don't know, it just, I guess I just decided, okay, I'm a writer now. So, and there were a lot of, I wrote 2 books before I wrote my first collection of poetry. But poetry was just something that was inside of me, I guess. So,
well, what inspired you what was your inspiration?
For poetry, just
Yes,
about
ma'am.
everything. So, I mean, I just look out my window and I see something and I go, oh, that's a poem. So, I mean, a bird or, a storm that's approaching, or if I'm feeling down or just whatever, just everything that comes to mind can be a poem. So,
Now, what's your biggest challenge in writing poetry?
well, my biggest challenge actually came with writing my second collection. The first collection kind of was a little bit smoother, but the second collection, I was kind of worried that maybe I'd exhausted my motivation and my imagination, and that, will I really be able to write another book of poems? Because but for some reason I was writing 2 poems a week, so that doesn't sound like a lot, but it really was. And so I just, had to just kind of keep myself going, like just stay focused, just get up early. I found getting up early and, 5 o'clock or so in the morning writing poetry was much better than trying to write it in the dead of night or, when you're tired or whatever. I just seem to have more inspiration in the morning. So.
Well, you're one of those I'm a morning person as well.
Yeah.
If you want my best, you better call me in the morning.
Right. But by evening, who knows? So.
Yeah. Well, I noticed you've got a book behind you. It's called The Eyes of the Doe, I believe it is. Tell us a little bit about that book.
Well, that was my first novel, and I had been working on it for over 5 years, and I just couldn't get it right. And I had the help of a lot of people that were good writers that would, drown it in red ink. And I would get so much, I would be in despair because I thought I can't write this book, but I wanted to write it. It was based on my own experiences growing up of losing my brother at a young age. And there was a lot of family drama and a lot of, East Texas stuff, going on in it. And so I kept rewriting it. And finally, I went to an East Texas Writers Guild conference back in 2016. And one of the speakers was Roger Leslie, whom you probably have run across maybe. But anyway, I had a chance to talk to him one-on-one after he was done with his presentation. And I told him that I had this novel I was working on, but I was kind of concerned about publishing it because it had so many sensitive issues, family issues. And he kind of looked at me and he just said, well, here's what Pat Conroy said. Anyone who's afraid of what their family will think of their writing shouldn't be a writer. And so the good advice. And so then he gave me some more pointers on what I should do. Is he thought my best bet was to go for a small or regional publisher and make sure that they were looking for what I had to give them. And so that worked. And 3 weeks later, I had a publisher. And so, but the book is a tragic story. And most people, will cry if they read it. But it was cleansing for me. It was like helped me heal in a lot of ways, just to write, the things. But what I had to do to make it work was I suddenly realized that the story was not mine alone, and it had to be told in multiple points of view, and that made all the difference. So that way, everybody that was in the same, kind of situation dealing with grief, but they were all dealing with it in different ways. And so That's what the book kind of brings together.
So in other words, it's a bit of a memoirs, but it's told from different people's.
Well, it's a fictionalized version. There's my husband used to, he would I'd read parts to him and he'd say, oh, I didn't know that happened. And I just kind of laugh and say, it didn't. I just made it up. But so it was kind of part, true and part not true. But
well, Patricia, this is fascinating, and we're going to continue with this. So we'll be right back after a brief commercial from our sponsors.
All right.
Hi, everybody. This is your author advocate, B. Alan Bourgeois, talking about the 2024 Year of the Indie Authors. It's going to be a great year to celebrate being an indie author or for a small press. So we hope you'll come and check it out, be a part of it. You can get a free membership, but there's also programs to help increase your marketing potential to gain more readers and more followers for your books. The website is indieauthors24.com. And on there, you can get this free copy of the book, Top 12 Things to Make the Year of the Indie Authors Great. And it is full of information to help with the marketing of you and your books so that you can be a successful author. So please stop by the website at indieauthors24.com. Get the book, sign up for the programs, and be a part of the exciting year that's coming ahead. Thanks, and have a great day.
Each and every one of us has a mission in life. Mine is to help people laugh through the good times and the bad. My name is Charlotte Canion, and I'm an author, a speaker, and a host on Indie Beacon Radio. If you need me to speak at an event or autograph my book, you can contact me at charlotte@charlottecanion.com. Thank you, and have a blessed day.
Looking to take your writing career to the next level? Look no further than 100+ questions a writer/author should ask. With over 100 questions curated by award-winning author and speaker B. Alan Bourgeois, the founder and CEO of the Authors School of Business, this book is a must-have for any aspiring or established writer. Bourgeois, a seasoned publisher, author advocate, and educator, brings his wealth of experience to the table to help you better understand the publishing world and succeed in your career. Don't miss out on this valuable resource. Get an additional bonus of a 1-month free subscription to the Authors School of Business valued at $12.95.
Mary Ann Fairmouth is a career consultant with 30 years' experience in the national recruiting world, a multi-award-winning author in multi-genres, and a speaker that gives presentations to help you succeed. Her book, Revolutionary Recruiting, made the top 20 global list of recruiting books. Find her on Amazon, your favorite bookstore, or at fairmouth.com.
Are you a poet looking for an opportunity to showcase your talent and win exciting prizes? Look no further than the Authors School of Business Poetry Contest.
Join a community of talented poets and get your work recognized by industry professionals. This is your chance to take your poetry career to the next level.
Our contest is open to poets of all ages and backgrounds, and we welcome poems in any style or genre. So whether you're a seasoned writer or just starting out, we want to hear your voice.
Visit our website to learn more about the contest rules and how to submit your work. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to showcase your poetry and win amazing prizes.
Join the Authors School of Business Poetry Contest and become a part of a community that celebrates the beauty and power of poetry.
Welcome back to the ASB Authors Showcase with your hostess, Charlotte Canion.
Welcome back. This is Charlotte Canion, and today we're speaking with Patricia Taylor Wells, and she's the author of the Kalidoscope series. Now, you've told us a little bit about The Eyes of the Doe. Tell us a little bit about your other books and, how they came into play and, maybe a little of the background.
Okay, well, the book after The Eyes of the Doe was Mademoiselle Renoir à Paris. And this was based on my experience in going to school as a very young girl in France at the Sorbonne, and they were having these horrific riots. And I kind of got caught in one of the riots. And so it's kind of a history of that time period, of what was going on nationally and locally, and then my own experiences too of dealing with all of that. And the Mademoiselle Renoir is me, because my teacher, one of my French, teachers. I don't know why she did this, but she used to call me Mademoiselle Renoir. And she said that I reminded her of a Renoir painting. I don't know which one that was, but so I was kind of like her, I guess, the teacher's pet. And this was in college. So it was embarrassing to me to be called Mademoiselle Renoir, but it stuck, and a lot of my friends called me that. And one of my friends, whenever I was writing the little memoir about it, I was going to call it something different, and she says, "No, you have to call it Mademoiselle Renoir." I did. So that's the background on that. And then after that, I wrote my first collection of poetry called Lodestar. And Lodestar did involve a few of the poems from some of my earlier days that survived, but honestly, most of them I threw away because I just said, no, I don't want anybody to ever read this stuff. It's not the form that I want. It's lacking in a lot of ways. I was more concerned with rhyme than rhythm, and so there were a lot of little issues, with most of the really early day poems. But I began to write, and I, just continued writing until I had what I thought were enough poems for a collection. And so that did that. And then I wrote another novel, which is The Sand Rose. And The Sand Rose was based on my experiences in Saudi Arabia. I was a young woman, unmarried woman going over to Saudi Arabia. I worked for Aramco, and there weren't too many like me over there at the time. This is in the 1980s. And so I had a lot of adventures, and also it gave me an opportunity. It's a novel, again, based on my experiences, but it also encompasses a lot of the history and the religious stuff that's, in Islam, and a lot of different things that a lot of people seem to have enjoyed, learning about. So,
do you use people that you run into as characters in your couple of your
yes, especially if they're very, minor characters that just have interesting traits. There was one very old woman that this is in when I was writing The Eyes of the Doe, and I had met her when we lived in Richmond, Virginia, and she was an artist, and she was in her 90s, and we would be walking our dog, and she would come out so she could pet our dog, and then she was just kind of shaking, she couldn't help it, but she would look at us and she would say, "I'm not scared of anything, not even the devil himself." And so, so I somehow found a way to use her in one of my stories. And it's especially true with the writing short stories. A lot of my short stories are based on not just always my experiences, but experiences of some people I've run into or know about or have witnessed. And so they offer good, background, I guess you could say.
Well, you said you've written a lot of short stories. Are some of these in your collections, or is that what you're
I don't have they're in the collections at Texas Authors. All of my short stories, really, I never even considered writing a short story. In fact, I didn't even want to write a short story, but then they started having these contests, and I have to admit I am a little bit competitive. And so I thought, well, I had this, one story that that truly was totally pretty much made up, but it was based on a real life woman that one of my cousins who was an artist had painted her, portrait, and the family would not, she's no longer around, and I'm not allowed to say who it is because she was very well known, but the family didn't like the portrait. So it was left with my, my cousin, still has it. And so I said, well, the picture is like this one elderly woman looking through a very sheer curtain and kind of, there's this loneliness and so forth in this picture. So I thought, well, that would, maybe I could make a story about that. And so my cousin just says, make her bad. So I kind of added a little bit of wickedness into the story about her. But anyway, it did, that was the first story I really, kind of wrote. And I think that year it got the first place award. So that motivated me. So I thought, okay, I'm going to write some more stories. And so every year I've been entering the contest, and I think I've had 10 awards altogether. And not all of my stories get awards. So don't, it's just, you have to just.
Now, are you going to be entering the new poetry contest?
Poetry contest. I did win both of my Lodestar and Kalidoscope did win first place in poetry through I think it's. Well, one of them was with the Texas authors, and the other one is the indie authors. So they have both won, some awards. So,
some new authors or writers or poets that might be listening to this, they might ask themselves, how do you get started? What advice would you give someone, that thinks they might have a story to tell or a poem to write?
Well, the first thing you've got to do is write. And I know that sounds silly, but you won't get anywhere if you don't just start somewhere. And so I think you have to have a little bit of an idea, but then you've also got to be able to sit still and let things kind of come to you. And they do if you wait long enough. But you may have to start over a few times, and poetry is especially that way. I mean, I can't tell you, I've probably thrown away more poems than I've written poems. And so some of them just don't work out, and you just have to accept that. And but the ones that do, you work on them, polish them up, and you learn, what you can about the craft. And like I said earlier, in poetry, people get hung up on rhyming, and that often gets really in the way, and the rhythm gets out of whack because they're so determined to rhyme that they just mess it up. And it also doesn't make, pardon?
They might lose the point, right?
Yeah, it doesn't always make sense. I mean, they've got to, people need to understand what are you saying here. And so that's my take on it.
Well, Patricia, we're going to take another break here. So we'll be right back after a brief message from our sponsors.
Okay.
As an author, it's important to find an organization that can provide the resources and support you need to succeed in the publishing industry. The Authors School of Business, ASB, is a well-respected organization that has been helping authors learn how to market and sell themselves and their books since 2011. Here are a few reasons why you should consider joining ASB instead of another organization. 1. Expertise and experience. 2. Comprehensive education. 3. Customized learning options. 4. Community and networking. 5. Cost-effective and flexible membership options. ASB is an excellent choice for authors who want to succeed in the publishing industry. By joining ASB, you can benefit from the organization's expertise and experience, receive comprehensive education, customize your learning experience, connect with a supportive community, and enjoy flexible and cost-effective membership options.
The garden was still there, full of vegetables and flowers, and a little lone rabbit sat nibbling on a pea plant. Coney picked, chopped, and cooked some cabbage. Chop, chop, chop. And Coda picked 2 carrots and cut them into pieces. I'm so happy to have a new friend. The end. Wasn't that fun?
Yeah!
Welcome back to the ASB Authors Showcase with your hostess, Charlotte Canion.
Well, welcome back. It's been my pleasure to speak with Patricia Taylor Wells as the author of the Kalidoscope series and many books and much poetry. Patricia, at this point, we need you to tell our listeners, where they can get your books, where they might, find you autographing your books, and tell us, maybe a little bit of your awards.
Okay. Well, all of my books are available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. You can just go in, but you have to make sure it's Patricia Taylor Wells. There is a famous cookbook author named Patricia Wells, and initially Amazon was dumping my books into her on her page, and that wasn't very good for either one of us. But anyway, I do have a website, and it's www.patricia, I always get mixed up, Taylor-Wells.com. And so they can click on that, and it'll take them to my website, and all my books are listed there, and my awards are also on my website. The awards that I have, again, are for The Eyes of the Doe was for family spiritual life. I don't know exactly which category they put it in, but fiction. But and then the next award I got was for Lodestar, which was my first collection of poetry, and now Kalidoscope, which is my second collection. And then I have the awards for the short stories.
Well, if there was go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to make a point about something. One of the short stories I turned in, which it was really, one of the stories I really wanted it to go somewhere. And the first time I turned it in, it was rejected. But I was able to get some pointers from the judges, and I understood why they rejected it. I mean, they were very precise about the reasons. And so after a year or so, I redid the story, and it won first place for that year.
So see, you're giving them encouragement, because we know that we don't learn from our successes. We actually learn from our failures.
Absolutely.
Failure is what makes us better. We definitely do grow from that. Well, give them your website again.
Okay, it's www.patricia-taylor-wells.com.
And they can get your books at Barnes and Nobles and Amazon, did you say?
Yes.
That is correct. Okay, in a sentence or two, what would you tell a new author? Just,
to dream big. I think, just don't be afraid of trying, starting out. You're not going to be that good in the beginning. Nobody is. And, you might, if you listen or compare yourselves to others, you're just going to feel, like you'll never make it. And you have to just write what, is good for you to write and how you want to write. And that's basically what I would tell them.
So basically be yourself
and
share what you love.
Yeah.
Well, Patricia, this has been a fabulous interview. Thank you very much for joining the show. And I'm Charlotte Canion, your host. And I want you to remember, a rose is like a book. You can't know its beauty until you look at it. And a book, well, it's like a rose. You won't know its full beauty until you open it. Bye for now. See you next time.
Thank you. Thank you, Buff.
Thank you for watching or listening to the ASB Author Showcase, spotlighting authors from around the world. ASB Author Showcase is produced by Authors School of Business, an author-owned organization helping authors to fully understand the business side of being an author. If you would like to be on the show or to be a sponsor of the show, simply email us at authorschool@outlook.com. Thank you to Happy Follows for creating the music, Frolic of Words, for the ASB Author Showcase. You can find his music on all major platforms